I want you boys to know, for this episode, obviously near and dear to our hearts. Spoily, I guess we're doing Oscars. This isn't the formal intro, but I'm gonna fight so hard for one of these movies, harder than I've probably ever fought.
Wow.
So get ready. I wanted to say on the top of this podcast, I love you, Matthew. I love you, Alex.
Jake.
I genuinely don't know what you guys are gonna say.
Jake,
I don't know what's gonna happen, but
Jake,
I just need to say it.
assuage some of your fears right now. I am also going to fight very hard, I think, for the same movie. So we can probably just skip one of the matchups. Jungle Cruise is moving on.
Whoa, you guys are really moving quick here. Listeners don't even know what's going on. They don't even know what this episode is. So hello and welcome
There
back.
goes Matthew calling them dumb listeners again.
They can't follow a conversation. It's literally impossible.
Dumb listeners can't even read the name of the episode.
Hey, I hope all of them they just see it hit their podcast app and they just start spamming before they even read. Just play. We're the Tough Cut Podcast, though. And I'm Matthew.
I'm Alex.
I'm Jake.
And this is part one of our Oscar bracket, our 2022 Oscars. Or is it the Oscars that were presented in 2022 for the year of 2021?
Year of 2021.
So
Yes,
2021
yes.
Oscars, I guess. Nice.
Yeah. You nailed that shit.
We
You
got
nailed
there.
that shit. Honestly, it's so arbitrary, the Oscars, fucking time frame of what movies are and aren't allowed. And
It's
blah,
dumb.
blah, blah.
There's so many rules that if Jake and I hadn't been surprised by how many categories there were, maybe we would have talked about the rules during our predictions bracket.
That's another one. That's another bonus episode in the can where we just detail all the
going
rules.
over the rules of the Oscars nominations.
If it were up to us, I would have pitched Sonic 2, and it didn't even come out yet. So
That's true. It's unlocked
Guys,
for next year.
I'm so excited for Sonic 2. Guys, Sonic 2 will be out when this episode comes out.
That's insane.
That's kind of beautiful. That's a beautiful thing. You know what else will come out from after this? We'll spoilers. So many spoilers will come out because we'll be spoiling these movies. And these are recent movies, so I guess the spoilers matter a little bit more on this one. So if you don't like being spoiled for genuinely great films, all around, fuck you, Alex, already. No, see, I told you I loved you. I told you I loved you in the beginning, and I need to keep it that way, but fuck you. All of them genuinely great films. I think, watch the films. You listen to us first. I guess we're priority, but, spoilers.
Spoilers. And what act do we do on this show, Alex? Because it's the first episode of a bracket.
Well, you already explained what the bracket was.
Oh, I guess it's Oscars. That's true. That's true. It's not a hard concept.
Yeah, Matthew did that. It wasn't me who said it earlier.
Well,
it was
you said
Matt.
Oscars, but Matt went in and explained how what this bracket was already.
Hey guys, we're the third best movie and film podcast on the planet. And we're doing our own Oscar picks because we matter more than the Academy. Those little rats.
You know what, Alex? Because Matthew and I just hijacked, the beginning of this. How about you just say something? Say whatever you want to say. This is your moment, your time to shine, unfettered. This is you. Say your portion.
I really like to eat
Dead
biscuits in the morning. They're yummy.
I thought that was going to be a dead stop. I really like to eat.
There you have it. That's the Tough Cut Pod. Thank you, guys. Also, very excited about these matchups. Another thing, some content warning. Malignant's a horror film, and boy, do they, get kind of gory. Sorry, Alex. But a lot of fun special effects and all that. But if you are sensitive to that, please keep in
Are
mind.
you telling me that didn't really happen? I thought that was a documentary pick, Jake.
No, what really happened was all the action sequences. That was all real.
Oh, okay.
Pretty badass, if I do say so myself.
Getting right into today's episode, because I'm sure we've got ground to cover. In the first half of the ep, we've got Jungle Cruise versus Mitchels versus the Machines, which is not 3 movies, but 2, because one of them has verses in the title.
Dude, there's one audience member who was confused, so you actually, thank you. Thank you for
I'm-
helping Gertrude out on our listener.
I'm here for our women over 50 demographic. And then on the other side of it, we've got Malignant versus Pig, which should be really fun.
Woo! Yeah. Woo!
Nice. With that, would you like to introduce Mitchels versus the Machines?
Oh my God! Right off the bat, we're swinging hard here.
Yeah,
I love it.
We're swinging hard.
Well, I mean, all these are 2021, but Mitchell's versus the Machines is directed by Michael Renata. These are the Sony Animation peeps. These are the folks who made Into the Spider-Verse. You know, they're gaining traction. And this one is not a Marvel property. It's about a quirky filmmaker in Michigan who clashes with her technology-hating father, and they are forced to go on a road trip to drop her off at film school as a big old quirky family, but then fucking all hell breaks loose and machines try to take over the world, and they're the only ones who could stop them because, of course. This film is like so much fun. I think that for a lot of films this year that I tended to love a lot and lean towards, they were the ones I had the most fun watching. And I thought that meant a lot to me over the past year, and Mitchell's was one of them. And you know, with our Oscars bracket, yes, we praise like just films that we think are the best. We aren't always trying to be like, well, no, it's anti-Oscars. It's fuck the Oscars. But like, I genuinely believe that Mitchell's vs. Machines was a fantastic time. Did it get snubbed for best animation? I don't know. All I do know is it's a big fuck you to the Academy for saying that animation is just for kids and it's something that adults have to quote unquote endure. Because you literally watch this movie and it's filled with so much love and so many lessons that any age could learn from, and it's really, really beautiful. So yeah, Matthew, what did you think of Mitchell's vs. the Machines?
Yeah, so we talked about this a little bit in our Oscar predictions episode, because I super wanted Mitchell's vs. the Machines to win Best Animated. It was one of my favorite movies of last year. Totally agree with you that there is just so much heart put into this movie, and I think that that is very much like along every step of the process. Like, it's a very personal story to, I think, like, obviously the animators had so much fun with it, to like even the editing I think is fairly spectacular. Like, there's a lot of thought and love just put into the entire experience. Yeah, it was great. Great movie.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's got so much visual character. I love the style of it. The character work itself is so good. Like, it's just a great movie all around.
Wait, Alex, you're getting ahead of yourself. We're talking about Mitchell's, not Jungle Cruise.
You're right. Sorry. I got confused.
Oh my god, the character work. Would you like to introduce Jungle Cruise?
Yeah, I'd love
Alex?
to. One of the movies I picked was a movie I'd never seen before. That was Jungle Cruise.
It's in the Oscar bracket, baby.
It was eligible for the Oscars. And, you know, okay. Audience, I'm going to be real with you. Matt and Jake like a lot of movies. But
yeah,
they tend to pick some more serious films sometimes. Or more intense. And I wanted to pick something that would just be fun to watch.
Like Malignant, but continue.
And so I picked Jungle Cruise. Disney movie, released in 2021, as all of these were. Directed by Kwame Kole. Anyone know how to say this director's name? Because I certainly don't. Kwame Colette Sarah.
Let me look at it. Let me look at it.
Sure.
Kwame Colette Sarah. Yes, say French.
Emily Blunt
He's not. He's Spanish.
I'm scared.
Emily Blunt is a woman who wears pants.
They do hit on it a lot.
They really nail that point in. She goes to the Amazon to try and find a cure so she can stop all disease and save the world and make Great Britain better in World War I. And
okay, loaded.
And this movie actually has Disney's first openly gay character. Like, it's not just like talked about. Like, it's actually. And Dwayne The Rock Johnson is there. and the neighbor from Game Night is a German, Austrian, unspecified,
Okay.
Eastern European
Put some respect
villain.
on Jesse Plemons' name. Put some respect
he's great.
on Jesse Plemons'
He's
name.
fantastic. Not necessarily in this movie, but in general. I had a fantastic time watching this movie. What did you got? What's your relationship with Jungle Cruise, Jake?
Actually, I have a fairly positive relationship with Jungle Cruise.
Hell yeah. Nice.
But for the same reasons I love it, there are reasons I don't love it. And and I watched this. There was a point in time I saw this with my friend Tori, and she just wanted to see a bunch of movies around. So this is around the same time that I saw Old. You know, M. Night Shyamalan, so
okay. Good association.
Yeah, exactly. So Old and but it's honestly good for Jungle Cruise, because if I think of the movie that I saw during that time,
is so bad by comparison.
Old is so bad by comparison that I watch Jungle Cruise. I'm I'm having fun here.
Nice.
But I will say, out of these kind of movies, you know. This is like Pirates of the Caribbean light. This is great value Pirates of the Caribbean, and I'm sure we'll get into that shit because oh boy, they tried. Literally
guys,
tried.
This movie wants so badly to be Indiana Jones.
It wants to be directed by Gore Verbinski. I bet if Gore Verbinski directed this shit, it would have been better. Unironically,
I agree.
Yeah,
come on the show, please. We need to ask you: did they pitch you for this job? I want to know.
Yeah. Yeah, but what do you think, Matthew? What do you got going on?
So I think first and foremost, I want to thank Alex for being willing to say the quiet part out loud that the Academy never wants to talk about. And that is, put some respect on Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, because that man makes some fucking money, dude.
Yeah, that's
highest
why
paid
he's
man
there.
in Hollywood. Come on, dude. Because what are movies about, huh, Academy? If not to make some motherfucking money.
Shit. Matthew's gonna pick the highest box office in every matchup. That's how he's picking.
The sellout. That's what I'm here for.
That's so good.
I was originally gonna come into this making a joke about, so there's a scene where, what is it? Is it a leopard?
Oh, there's a cat.
Leopard?
His cat. Yeah.
Drinks a bunch of wine and then vomits.
And
then just
and that was improv.
It's not plot important beyond that. That just happens, and then just kind of leave it where it lie. And say that was my reaction to watching this, but that would be a lie.
Good one.
Because I did have fun with it. I do.
It's a fun watch.
I think there's some lulls where they don't pull off the wishing.
Was that lulls or lulls?
Some LOLs.
There's some lulls. I laughed when the leopard vomited. Where they're trying so hard to be Pirates of the Caribbean / Indiana Jones, but not quite hitting the mark. I think this movie could have been about 20 minutes shorter, and it would have felt improved. But I had fun. I generally had fun. For Disney movies based off of Disney rides. I don't know where it ranks on that tier list, because Pirates of the Caribbean, very high. Eddie Murphy, Haunted Mansion, masterpiece. This movie, is somewhere.
It's at the bottom of that list.
It sure is on the list. No matter what, it is on the list. For
Guys,
sure.
if you Google Jungle Cruise, the first thing that Google is people ask this about this. The first thing they say is Jungle Cruise a flop?
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe Jungle Cruise is in its flop era. We don't know. Yeah, look, I mean, there were so many clear, creative choices in Jungle Cruise that I felt I thought were really cool, but since, they kind of were, they weren't meshed well. Because the whole time I kept thinking, I'm sorry, about Pirates of the Caribbean. And that feels like a fully fleshed out world and story. With Jungle Cruise, shit was the people's powers, all their shit, the villains, all their different things.
It's so random.
It's random, and it is cool, but go into it a little bit more. When we saw all the different people in Dead Man's Chest and Pirates, this is just turning into a Pirates podcast, but it felt like they were they weren't, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like it just.
I think
Yeah, they felt those pirates like being under the ocean for so long felt specific. These 5 people all being completely different aspects of the jungle didn't come across.
Yeah, there was part of me that was like, I wish they had just set this movie during like the 1500s expedition. Like some conquistadors battling an ancient power out in the jungle with Dwayne The Rock Johnson wearing the fakest mustache on the planet.
God, so good.
Would have been
So
fun.
good.
That would have been fun. Not to say this movie wasn't, but we wouldn't have had to stop the plot to mention that Emily Blunt wears pants.
Yeah.
For like the 100th time. Yeah. I don't know.
Do you guys think the nickname Pants was just Dwayne riffing and he just like kept doing it in a bunch of different scenes? I really kind of think that was
I genuinely think
off the dome.
It was the first time Dwayne saw a woman wearing pants, and it literally like short circuited his brain, and he could not continue anymore.
Also, there's one actor in Jungle Cruise that we haven't called out that I just want to put a little bit of lovely respect on.
It's got to be Paul Giamatti.
It's got to be Paul Giamatti. I think he was so fun, and they're like building him up to be like a more important character, and he's just gone.
They gave him the same amount of screen time as the Rhino had in Amazing Spider-Man 2. They give Paul Giamatti a silly accent for like 2 seconds, and then fuck off, goodbye, Paul.
I bet he was gonna be in less, and they like filmed all this stuff being like, okay, we'll like film all this and then kind of edit him out, but he'll be like a fun character. And then he was like one of the better parts of the movies. They were just like, fuck it, whatever.
Yeah.
Paul Giamatti's here.
The whole like I guess like the first big set piece that comes out once they reach the jungle isn't essentially entirely tied to Paul Giamatti. And then just nothing else important happens with him the entire rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Okay. Question.
Yes.
And here's where we'll get into the comparison.
Yeah. I'm ready as well. Yeah. I have some thoughts.
Mitchels vs. Machines 2.
Mm-hmm.
Set before or in the middle of the events of Jungle Cruise. They find themselves trapped in their car, except it's a boat car, and they're on the Amazon River.
Mm-hmm.
Do they survive an attack from the conquistadors with all their magic Amazon powers? What happens in that scenario?
Is it animated or not?
I think it's got to be animated, right?
If it's animated, they have a chance because the animation rules automatically level them up like hardcore, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But, I just think that these movies are clear. There are 2 like creative forces at play here.
Yeah, there's so much vision in Jungle Cruise. It's undeniable.
But what I'm saying, I genuinely think there was like too much vision in Jungle Cruise. Like they threw shit at a dartboard. Like I think there was like people said yes too much on Jungle Cruise to where
guys,
Mitchell
the moment
vs.
when they're
Machines,
just like, when they're just like, let's fucking kill the Rock, and like he's secretly a conquistador. My mind was blown. I had no idea that they could actually do something like that in this movie. His deaths were so gruesome.
I so badly, dude, wanted that to just be like he gets written out of the movie halfway through because he dies. That would have been awesome.
Would have been awesome. They could have done the Barbossa thing, Oh shit, pirates. But
we can't escape it.
Look, I just think like Mitchell's is so purposeful. Like the animation, like everything in there is a choice and it works. And it's so like the care. But there are choices in Jungle Cruise, but there are too many choices. Too many. Like stop it. No more choices. Jesus. Fuck.
No more. No
more choices for you, Jungle Cruise.
The big executives at Disney were just gave too much leeway on this one.
Yeah, man. I mean, Dwayne The Rock Johnson showed up and they're like, he'll be fine. He'll make us money. Like, peace out. Jumanji was better than this. I mean,
Jumanji.
Okay,
I like Jumanji.
No, exactly. That's how you do a good The Rock
Jumanji. Yeah. I like new Jumanji.
Oh,
okay.
Well, we're not here to talk.
That might be
not here to get into that.
That would have been so good in our remake bracket.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been a great one.
Remakes too.
That's a great one. That's a great one.
Because that would be sick. Would have been fun. as for actually talking about these two movies, one, to comment on Alex's piece, if the Mitchells ended up battling with conquistadors in the jungle,
Yeah. What are their names?
the conquistadors,
Yeah. That's
There's
I proved my point, Your Honor.
Gonzalo.
Aguirre.
Yeah.
No, I proved my point, Your Honor. You can continue.
Yeah, okay, Jake, what happens if I had just, like, whipped them off quick,
Jake
just like
Sully.
Jake Sully? Yeah, exactly. What would you do then?
You
Okay.
should have just said Jake Sully. You should. I
been
honestly
good.
might have voted for Jungle Cruise if you would have done that. I mean, oops, I don't know who I'm voting for.
Well, you didn't vote. You didn't vote for Avatar when we did it then.
Yeah, that's just morally, I wouldn't be able to do that. But what were you saying, Matthew, before Alex derailed you?
Yeah, okay, thanks. Before they battle, if they battled the conquistadors, I mean, to me, like, it's not even a fight, you know? The Mitchells took down literally a robot army essentially single-handedly, like, you know, some shitty conquistadors that couldn't even defeat Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
I mean, you say that like it's an easy feat, though. Let's be real.
Here's the thing: is Jungle Cruise stole the ending of The Road to El Dorado.
Yeah.
So yeah, I rest my case.
You know, are we talking? Do you think this movie is in the same universe as The Scorpion King? It's basically the same plot, right?
Does that mean Brendan Fraser can show up in Jungle Cruise 2?
Dude, I would love
sick as hell.
I would love
yeah.
that.
I would love that.
I would love that. He plays Paul Giamatti.
Jungle Cruise 2 is just Paul Giamatti's character and Brendan Fraser.
I would watch.
Brendan Fraser.
I would watch. I would pay unnecessary money for that.
Here? I love Brendan Fraser.
Can we talk about how bad the ending of Jungle Cruise is? How she saves him with, it's like she chooses to sacrifice the rose petal or whatever, and then like just act of God, there's another petal. Oh, it's so dumb. It's so bad.
There's something I want to hone in on in the ending. So they smash the cavern, closing it, right? How did they get out?
They really gloss over them getting home. It's like such a journey, them getting there, and then it's like, oh, we're just gonna paddle home on this little raft.
Like, genuinely.
They never made it home. It's like a hallucination at the end from like them like wandering the jungle. There's like starvation and like water hits in, dehydration.
Emily Blunt. And the brother, their third sibling, who's on the back of Emily Blunt's head, controlled them as they went home.
Dude, again, a better movie.
Also, I feel like there is no way that Jungle Cruise 2 can have like a meaningful plot when we know these flowers exist, right?
Okay, I mean, like...
And that they know how to get them.
Yeah.
Well, they probably open it with being like the flowers are all destroyed, or like the tree got destroyed, right? It's
oh
easy
god,
to
there was
write
a
it off.
terrible wildfire in the Amazon.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, easy.
Fair. Whereas Mitchells vs. the Machines, which is rumored to be getting a sequel.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure, but
I think it was talked about.
I would love to get more time with the Mitchells because they're so fucking sweet.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just trying to direct the conversation that way because I feel like we haven't talked. Not that we.
Well, there's a reason why I'm not really talking about it a lot.
In the face of Jungle Cruise,
it's just it can't compare. It
Yeah.
doesn't hold conversation.
I just don't want to waste my breath on a movie. I don't. Yeah, man.
Yeah. So this isn't like a direct thing because obviously one is a live action movie. One is completely animated and one is mostly live action with a fuck ton of CGI and green screens for every single set.
Dwayne just looks like that, dude. I'm sorry. Get over it. He just looks like that.
That was a real mustache.
And I'm not trying to grump on the work that was, because clearly a lot of visual effects work was done for Jungle Cruise.
Sure, man.
However, some of it was questionable. And I just want to, I don't know, I want to hone in on that a little bit.
With the animation?
All the CGI in Jungle Cruise compared to the animation of Mitchell's, like, do you think the visual effects artist and the 3D modelers behind Jungle Cruise loved their job as much as the people that worked on Mitchell's, you know?
No, because they work for Disney, and Disney probably hounded the shit out of it. No, I mean, that's the thing. Like, this is like proof, like seeing this matchup, that like animation and special effects, all that is a very, like, you know, it's an intense
It's a
medium that
labor of
takes a
love.
lot of love. And there's a lot you could do with good animation that makes it feel so good. But when it just feels like it's not really like servicing the plot, it's just to have cool shit. Like, yeah, that's fine. Sometimes I like watching cool shit just be cool shit.
Which we'll
But-
talk about on the next matchup.
which we will fucking talk about on the next matchup. But like, I don't know. I just feel if I'm looking at both of these compared to each other, I can't say that the animators or the special effects team behind Jungle Cruise felt as impassioned as they did with, like, there's no way in my mind that makes sense.
Which I think
compared
that's kind
to
of the point I wanted to get at a little bit is it is truly like so evident of the kind of labor of love aspect of Mitchell's vs. the Machines, where, you know, jokes aside, Jungle Cruise in a lot of ways comes off as a product, I think. You know, like it doesn't feel quite like the same delicate hand was given to these things. It was like we have a deadline to meet, you know? Which I just think is like really interesting experientially between these two.
I mean, it's like, this is a weird example, but this is like gives me the whole vibe between these two. But the Mitchells vs. the Machine Twitter is still active and still tweets like personalized message, and like during the Oscars and like all that stuff. And Jungle Cruise is probably a bot that says, Dwayne is in this, watch movie, Blu-ray now. Like,
I like to think about it of like the production behind Jungle Cruise feels like how Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson told his jokes, of like super deadpan, like he's done it a million times, he's just getting it out again, and he enjoys doing it, but it's like just another day kind of thing.
Yeah,
you know,
I think that's actually a good way to go about it, a good comparison.
Guys,
sorry,
I mean,
what were you gonna say?
If you got another thing, man,
I
go
have
for it.
two little things I want to call out. One for each movie, so we'll see how it sways people.
Right. Yeah. I don't know what I'm voting for. I'm indecisive right now.
One, the like anti-romantic chemistry going on between Emily Blunt and The Rock was so funny.
it turns so fast. It's like all of a sudden he has to kiss her to give her air so she can breathe underwater, and it's like, ooh, she's in love.
Horrible
so
trope.
bad.
Horrible trope.
It's so bad.
And
hate that
literally
shit.
so unnecessary. There is
Yeah.
zero reason there needed to be a love story there.
Well, she was wearing pants. I don't know, dude. Like,
And the thing I want to call out for Mitchell's being a Sony Pictures Animation project is just a message that you can do anything you put your mind to, man. The studio that was once known for shit like the Emoji Movie and Open Season made Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Mitchell's vs. the Machines.
Hell yeah.
Like, that's
to be
just
fair, they
crazy.
probably cleaned house and got other
absolutely.
people.
Different creatives behind it.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, look, Jake, you have to remember, sellout. I'm talking to the corporate overlords out there that they can do anything they put their mind to by hiring the right people.
I'm sorry, but
all they have to do is be too big to never fail,
Yeah.
and then they can do anything they want.
It's the
If I saw a
easiest thing.
trailer to Mitchell vs. Machines and it said from the studio who brought you Open Season, I would lose my absolute mind.
God.
Yeah, what if it was like the next Sony Pictures movie that comes out is like from the studio that brought you Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Mitchell's vs. the Machines, and Open Season. Like just a random early 2000s.
That feels like a Deadpool joke. That
God,
feels like,
so
you know how
good.
the Deadpool was like from the studio that
Yeah.
killed Wolverine. Like that's a Deadpool. Yeah. Guys, let's vote. I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
You've wasted enough breath.
I'm done.
I mean, any of us, I think, can go first.
Sure, I'll do it. Yeah, Mitchell's versus the Machines. I'm not even joking. No jokes for this. I unironically enjoyed Uncharted, the movie, better than I enjoyed Jungle Cruise, and I enjoyed both of them
So
as
if
like
we
I don't
line
give a
up,
shit.
we've got old, Jungle Cruise,
Mm.
Uncharted for you. That's like your top three, or like,
Yeah.
top three in ascending order. So it gets better as you go along that continuum.
Yeah.
It's like a reverse old.
Here's the thing. I don't know if
Oh.
I'd watch Jungle Cruise again, but I'd
you'd
probably
watch
watch
Old again?
Old with friends to hate watch it again. So I don't know.
I feel like I'd get drunk and watch Jungle Cruise with friends.
Yeah, that's fair. It's fair.
Nice. Well,
I'd get drunk and watch movies with anyone. Anyway, I vote for Mitchell's.
I'm also voting for Mitchell. There's no point beating around the bush.
What? No. But Jungle Cruise had so much promise. I also am voting for Mitchell's vs. the Machines.
Oh, goodbye. A salute to Paul Giamatti and Paul Giamatti alone.
It was a fun, easy movie to watch.
Yeah,
Paul
no,
Giamatti
time.
had more screen time on our podcast than he did in all of Jungle Cruise.
And more screen time in our hearts.
Yeah.
With that, Mitchell's vs. the Machines moves on. We're jumping over to the other side of this matchup. I guess I'll go ahead and introduce Pig.
Yeah, please.
Sure.
So Pig, obviously released in 2021, directed by Michael Cernowski. A pig has been pignapped with the intent of selling her into forced labor. Working against the clock, her ex-chef, full-time mind-blower owner, must pull out all the stops to save her. But his best years are possibly behind him. The job may be more than he can handle. And yes, that was in fact the synopsis of Taken, but with daughter changed to pig, and spy changed to ex-chef.
Wow, that's actually incredible. That you could just copy paste like that.
In reality,
very telling.
Hey, you shut your mouth. It's not your turn.
Yes. Sorry. Yes, sir.
Yes, chef.
In reality, Nicolas Cage plays a truffle hunter whose pig has been stolen, and he wants nothing but to get her back. So him and his truffle salesman, played by Alex Wolff, must ramble their way through Portland and Nicolas Cage's past to track down his beloved pig. So part of me putting this movie in this bracket is just to bring some more attention to it because it was a film I really loved from last year. I think that we get a much more subdued performance from Cage in a really interesting way. What's beyond that, I just generally think like it's a well-told and fairly intimate story with some of that kind of Cage movie weirdness along the road, which if it isn't already evident, I'm a really big fan of.
Right.
Beyond that, I feel like it is just a well-made, like competently shot, well-acted movie, and I just really enjoyed it. What did you think about this one, Jake? Because you'd seen it before, right?
Yeah. I'd seen it before. I was really excited. I saw it. Just really excited. I mean, like Nicolas Cage and his like renaissance that he's doing right now is like, I'm all for it. No one on the Tough Cup podcast is anti-Cage, and that's a good sign for everybody. And I saw this with a bunch of film peeps. We like had a projector and we ordered pizza and we watched it. And I love that it was filmed in Portland. I recognize because I grew up, not grew up. I had spent a majority of my like later teen years there. And it was really cool because I always thought to myself, like, Portland is a great city to film in. It's just, tax incentives and blah, 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 business side of the entertainment industry, why they don't film there. So that was great to see. And people were divided when we broke it down for if they enjoyed it or not. I agree with you to where it's like it is a subdued and it is like it's a fun, like it's a nice Nick Cage story, but there were parts that just seemed
movie.
Yeah, not for everyone movie, which is, I mean, it's up against the not for everyone movie. So
in very different ways.
In very different ways. I fully understand that. But I enjoyed it, but I don't think it was like, I think there were obvious like faults to it, but I am very glad that it's in this bracket because like you said, like I hope more people watch it. I hope it gets more like traction. There was just some stuff that I don't know. It's because I saw Old as well. So Alex Wolff, I just wanted to get him far away from me.
Drop the association unless you're going to start talking the same about, Hereditary, which I know you loved. And
yeah. I'm messing with you.
Jumanji, which you said you really liked.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, Jake.
Hey.
Unless you're
honestly,
willing to swear off those movies, can't
I
fault
can't.
Pig for it.
I can't. No, I don't fault Pig for it. I just thought Pig was a little bit like, it had that indie movie slow thing where like sometimes I felt it was unnecessary.
That's fair.
And yeah, and that's like genuinely just like my opinion on it. I did enjoy it, but I also thought like pacing was a little bit of an issue for me. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, I had never seen Pig before, but I remember when trailers were coming out for it. And I remember seeing these articles about like Nicolas Cage is with a pig. What's up with that? And so I was excited to watch it. I really enjoyed it. For me, it felt like everything, and this is not the comparison we're talking about, but this movie to me felt like everything that Mandy should have been. Like the same person enraged goes after something, but like to me, this movie does so much more in these like quiet moments.
And less bloody.
It's less bloody. Like, I don't know. I liked the slow burn of it. And the like emotional buildup that it has, the way that it like really takes its time to like reveal who the characters are in a lot of interesting ways. I really enjoyed.
It's very guarded about when it chooses to play its cards.
Yeah.
In a way that I think it does really, really well.
It doesn't like try to make you love the characters right away. It like lets you sit in not knowing who they are for a long time, which I think is just such an interesting way to write your characters. And I totally agree though with Jake that like that can lend itself to pacing issues, which this movie definitely has. But
I openly
Right.
But I think
but it's fair. Like you can have issues with a movie and still really enjoy it. Like it's totally fine.
Yeah.
I love it in spite of its issues.
Yeah.
But it is going up against
a monster.
Go ahead, Jake. Take it away.
Guys, I'm so excited. Like, genuinely, like, I fucking love this movie so much, and I am in a very particular camp of people who will swear by it, so I'm fully ready to chat about it. This is Malignant, directed by James Wan, and this is, the woman paralyzed by fear from these shocking visions. She's tormented, and she discovers her dreams are actually realities. Because she got some shit going on. This is basically the John Wick of horror movies. In that one particular scene that I really, really love.
Yes.
Dude, like literally, I genuinely believe, like, when I saw this movie, I was like, "What's going on?" I was like, probably with everyone else. I was like, "What the fuck?" But then the more it happened. And like James Wan as a creator, I feel like and when I started researching more about like the making of this movie, I just feel like he did all this shit on purpose. And he was just like making a no bars, just like fucking silly, fun camp horror. And I think it works. I genuinely think it works. I think it's so funny. Gabrielle, like, fucking is one of my favorite horror villains. And I think has one of the best sequences of just murdering people that I've seen. Like, that backwards choreography is so fucking fun.
It's really cool. It's really cool.
It's really cool. Like, and I really just enjoyed it. Yes, like, it was very cheesy, campy. The story didn't make too much sense. It was visually really interesting, though. I will say, like, they had a lot of cool visuals with it. I don't know. I just really love this for embracing its, like, full camp horror genre, like, film, whatever shit, and just focusing on having a fun, stupid time. Alex, I need to hear your thoughts.
I kind of liked it. Yeah, I kind of had a good time with it. There, coming out of it, I have plot questions.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I thought like it looked very cool. Gabriel, I think, is just such a funny design. The like little thing clawing out of her head is so
Have you
funny.
seen the animatronics? Like they actually like built that. Like it's like a real thing.
Wow,
like and
that's
it's
cool.
it like they move it like it's like a remote controlled, like they can move its little head and its little arms. It's really sick.
Nice. Yeah. I had a good time. I have some issues like
well, do we want to can I just
go ahead.
talk briefly?
Yeah, please,
and then we can
go
circle
ahead.
back. Before we start to get into the issues of probably both of these movies. So I haven't talked about it much on this podcast before, but I am a pretty big Saw fan. And with that, a huge James Wan fan. I think he is such a talented creator that brings a really specific style and vision to everything he makes, which is not to say every movie he makes is good, just that all of them carry him in them, which is like hugely commendable. However, Malignant is probably my favorite Wan movie since Saw, basically.
That's huge coming from you. That's huge.
Well, I mean, given some of the competition is things like Aquaman and
okay,
Furious 7.
Annabelle. He had like he did some other good bangers in horror. I feel.
I mean, the cards on the table. I don't personally love Insidious or the Conjuring movies. I have lots of thoughts about those, which we will talk about one day.
Guys, on James,
I
will. On James
pitch
Wan's
they're fun.
IMDb page, 2 of the movies in the 4 that he's known for are Aquaman and Furious 7.
Yeah, he directed.
No, I know, but like of his movies, those are the 2 that are in his known for.
Yeah, which is a travesty because he should be known for the original Saw, which is just a fucking banger, dude.
No, great film.
And Malignant is so fun. It is so sad that this movie, to my knowledge, like completely bombed the box office and will probably make it more difficult for like the keys to be handed to Wan in the future. Because this movie is just, it oozes his style and vision so much. And it's just like such a fun ride.
Look, he got that Aquaman money, and then they're like, "Yeah, you could do whatever you want, James Wan. We trust you." And then he said, "All right, bet, bitch." And then he made Malignant.
Bet. They're like, "Look, if you sign on to make Aquaman 2, we'll fund whatever little project you want to make with spooky ghouls."
I mean, yeah, like probably that's exactly how the business meeting went down.
Yeah, and it's sick, dude.
Yeah, I love that shit.
But to circle back to your issues, Alex, if you want to take the floor.
I was gonna ask why they do so many establishing shots of the house. There are like,
I think there
are like 20 establishing shots of the house that are the same shots. Like, it's absolutely wild. Just like slightly different times of the day.
So I think it's twofold. One of them, I think, has to do with trying to get the audience to be able to piece together that the attic is
attic is part of the
basically.
house.
Yeah, that you sort of know where the windows will be and where the light's going to come in. So when they're taking those shots, you'll be able to put 2 and 2 together. Because one of the things I think that Malignant does really well is they almost egregiously signpost what the twist of the movie is going to be. She like constantly refers to like the "it's all in my head." Literally. The like tapping at the back of her head constantly. Like, yeah,
the writing is so like good because it's so like in your face.
Yeah.
Like, I genuinely think it's so purposefully like
it loops back around.
Yes,
because I think that they want you to know what the twist is going to be before it happens. So I think that's the reason for that.
That's fair. That makes sense.
I also think it's like, again, and this could be me totally being an apologist about this movie, but I do think a lot of what it is purposeful. Like, I think they're making fun of the tropes where like a lot of those horror movies, like you'll always have like the house is haunted, like the house, and they always show like these creepy establishing shots of the house. So Malignant said, fuck it, I'm gonna put a fuck ton in there.
It's like literally every single time. It's like they're back at the house. There's
so
another establishing shot of the house.
They cut to a house. I think that shit's so funny.
It's used well. I don't know if I agree with the satirical angle, in part because it happens a lot too in The Conjuring and Insidious.
Yes, it does. You're right.
So I mean, he could be poking fun at his own catalog of work. Yeah. So I don't know if it's quite as intentionally satirical.
He's got a sense of humor, man. I don't know. I feel like the opening of this movie of Malignant like rocked my shit. I feel like it took me through such a loop, the whole like military shit and all that. Like it was great. It was great. Go for it. Actually, you go.
I was just gonna say. So I think something we have to recognize here is that we have a battle of the Pacific Northwest. And obviously Jake being from the PNW
Oh, yeah.
You can speak to this a little bit, but I feel like both of them kind of take advantage of that setting in different ways. Obviously, I don't think Malignant is like truly tied to the fact that it's in the Pacific Northwest, and neither is Pig entirely. But like, how do you feel like these movies kind of encapsulate the PNW through like
Yeah.
how they frame their shots, how they take advantage of their respective cities, things like that?
Well, yeah, both are like genuinely really great, but there's a reason why I called it out when I was giving my kind of review of Pig. It really is really cool, and it is a whole thing, the underground like chef community, especially in that like area. That's like a real thing people talk about, and like you can kind of get the vibe of with some restaurants. There's just like always there's always something more going on, and you're just like, I don't know, maybe they're being quirky and weird. But no, as someone who's like lived in Portland for a long time, to Seattle many times, like Seattle was a great place to put. It just feels like for both these stories, it feels so real for where they're at. Like it feel, and that's like a stretch to say with Malignant, obviously, but like it feels so like this shit could happen here, and honestly, no one else would know about it because like whatever, you're in the Pacific Northwest. I do think just stylistically, as a city, Pig does a better job with like having Portland and again its underground chef community, all that like really really well encapsulated.
Yeah.
But as a backdrop for like, I think it's great to have a horror film in somewhere like Washington. Yeah, like I think that's fun.
Somewhere a little more. Obviously, a major city is not off the beaten path, but it's
Yeah.
when people think of major American cities, they go like New
Yeah.
York, Boston, etc.
And it's like rainy. It's always gloomy there. Like I think it's a smart
Which is
location.
yeah, exactly. It's big brain.
It's smart.
You
Yeah.
can justify it always being like fogged and overcast and kind of dreary because it literally is, which is really fun. What were you going to say, Jake? Before I sort of jumped in.
Oh shit. Well, it's really hard because like for both these movies, I fully recognize that I was in the camp of people who ended up liking it, but I also have talked to people who hated that shit. Like did not even tickle their fancy one bit. And I got it. Like I totally got it. But if anything, people hating it made me love it more. But with Pig, like I also was in that camp when I was like watching with those people and we had our whole discussion afterwards. Just people were really, for some reason, and I don't really know why, this is like me giving credit to Pig, like they didn't like it doing some things that I thought were very similar. Like when you did the Mandy comparison, I really think the slow burn is like the same. It's just Mandy looks like it's more bloody and more like, I don't know, in your face about it. But I think it's the same slow burn Nicolas Cage performance to a certain degree.
Just to jump in on that,
Yeah.
I think to a certain degree, 100% agree with you. However, I think that Mandy shrouds itself in a little more that you kind of have to disentangle to put these characters together. Whereas Pig takes that slow burn and does actually give you some like there's
some relief. Yeah.
There's like some explicit exposition about these characters. So like we actually get to directly learn more of that information, whereas in Mandy I think there's a little bit more indirectly, like it's based on like visual elements and just sort of like
more fantastical.
Yeah, like living in that vibe, whereas Pig will slowly unveil the truths of who, Robin's character, like who he actually is and what he means to people, specifically Amir, Alex Wolff's character, and his family. Like that is sort of the core piece of this story.
What I think is so cool about the way that this movie like gives you its characters is like the way that what's the character's name? Edgar, right? Who like runs the underground.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
When he turns to Alex Wolff and is like, "Do you even know what his name really is? Like who this really is?" It's like so good because as an audience member, we have no idea that Nicolas Cage is anyone special, right? Like to us, he is just a truffle hunter, and so like to get that information and to be like, it feels like it gives you so much at like such interesting times that it like when it starts to lag, it like does something that draws you back in. in like a very interesting way of like surprising you with what essentially are these like plot hooks that do have the same function as like what in a horror movie a scary sequence does, right? Like it draws you in that way with information rather than with like something like tense happening on scene, like on the screen, which I think
Yeah.
is so fascinating.
Unless you have something to say immediately to that, Jake. I actually wanted to loop back to something you were talking about before.
I do have something, but I don't like. Please don't. Yeah, please don't forget it. I don't know if I. This is like a new thought as we're talking, and I love it when new thoughts happen from our conversation. So I'm sorry if it's not fully, formed. But I don't know if I love or hate the fact that this pig has no care in the world about convincing you that Nicolas Cage's character could actually be one of those like fancy chefs.
Yeah.
Like it does not give a shit. To me, it seemed way like this is not. There's no way he was serving up in those restaurants. I believe he was fighting in those rings. I don't believe he was bougie in the restaurants. You know what I mean? Like I just didn't like, and maybe it's like trying to show that like, oh, like this really wasn't him, and that's why he got out, or blah blah blah. But it just, you could not convince me that Nicolas Cage's character was serving up as a waiter and wanted to be a big prominent chef for some reason. Like it just did not convince me.
Well,
of that, which could have been purposeful, but also like I don't really him with his like intro and like seeing him in his habitat and seeing how he is. I don't see him as a 5-star chef, and maybe that's my bias in the film, and maybe that's the issue. But I don't know. Like it seems the film says now we have Nicolas Cage. We don't really.
So
give a fuck. Like, we're
I
not gonna
totally
try to
agree
make
with
it
you in that it does not try to convince you that he was at one time like a 5-star chef or whatever. But I think
Right.
it's purposeful because the
Mhm.
point of his character is about letting him move on from like what he was. Like it doesn't matter really who he was. Like almost the fact that he was so important in this society is not relevant beyond it is a plot tool, and it's reference for like how far he's gone down rather than like
Right.
you don't need to believe really that he was a 5-star chef. It's just like he had life
Mhm.
figured out, quote unquote, and one thing happened and everything
Right.
fell apart. And so you're not meant to see him at
Right.
all in that position because you're only seeing him at the bottom.
Yeah, and I guess that's fair, but I also think literally from like a stepping out of the film standpoint, like I think they just were able to cast Nicolas Cage in this kind of whack little thing, and they didn't really care about any other casting. So I don't know if it's like great casting, even though it is great casting because it's Nicolas Cage. Does that make sense? Like I totally agree with you, and that's why it's like a new thought. But
I get the piece of we have the chance to cast Nicolas Cage. Let's cast Nicolas Cage. But I don't agree with the idea that they didn't care who they cast in other pieces.
it's more just Nick Cage. I think
also,
everyone else.
I
Casted.
also
Yeah.
don't think
it's just Nick
like
Cage.
if they'd had a different actor, I don't think it would have been different. Like I don't think it would have been someone who they would have made look like he was a 5-star chef, because you can make Nicolas Cage look like he was a 5-star chef, you know?
I also, something that I think Pig does really intentionally relating to the casting of Nick Cage, or more specifically this concept of guy who doesn't look like 5-star chef, is they frame a lot of shots and I think do a lot to make Nicolas Cage look a lot bigger than he actually is.
Mm-hmm.
Frequently putting him with people that are much smaller, both in frame and both in terms of like their frame and height, which I think helps some of that illusion that like he doesn't fit in, because most of the time, like beyond being dirty, dressed like a truffle farmer, he literally doesn't fit in. Like he is much larger than other people. He is like visually discongruous. Which I think is super intentional.
I agree. I totally agree, and that's why like it also just feels so funny to me that they just don't give it, like they don't give a shit.
Yeah, which I think is
great.
So cool.
Yeah.
But to because it seems like we're sort of hitting a little bit of like to loop back to something you were talking about before, Jake, because I think it's a really interesting point talking about people hating these movies.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, I get it with Pig. I understand Pig not being everyone's cup of tea, so to speak, because it's kind of a strange movie. It's slow burn, kind of artsy, which, not for everyone. But Malignant, like, if you like horror movies, it confuses me. Coming out of that movie, at least not having a good time.
Right.
Because like I get going after it for not being like a perfectly composed movie.
Yeah, no plot, just vibes. But
Yeah, like James, the whole team and James Wan's directing in particular, like he had a lot of visual elements. I think he came into the movie wanting to show off, almost more than like the plot specifics.
yeah.
And like I just don't get how you don't have fun, just like, unless you, I guess if you get so caught up in the plot specifics of some of it.
And I feel like this
That's just
movie does
crazy
a
to me.
real good job of like bashing it in your head in the opening that it's not about plot, and like to let go of that. Like I genuinely think they're just like, let go of that shit, have a good funny time. Shout out to Annabelle Wallis, by the way, the lead actress who like played Gabrielle and the wow, what's her name? But like that shit was like I thought she was a great scream queen, like kind of like great. I thought she was fucking awesome. Like, and having the chance to play both those roles, I feel like was probably so fucking fun. Yeah,
Do you think was she the one doing the stunts as Gabriel?
She did some. She did. She did some of the choreography.
So, something I want to talk about, just like not a comparison, just like a raw thing I want to talk about from Malignant.
Yeah, let's go in raw to Malignant.
Obviously, the absolutely insane ending sequence where Gabriel slaughters his way through an entire women's jail cell, women's jail cell, and then an entire police department.
ACAB. Malignant said ACAB.
Yeah. Malignant unironically said ACAB, dude, and they said ACAB hard.
When they throw that chair all the way across the room, holy shit, man.
They meant that.
Yeah.
Which is great. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Also, the fact that they start that sequence with this bitch having a seizure is writing genius.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
The thing I want to talk about in relation to all that, though, but why? Why can Gabriel make her body do this? I know he says, I can use your body better than you. And then at the end, she goes, no, it's been my body all this time, and lifts up the huge, heavy hospital bed. But why? Why is she so fast and strong?
I like to think it's something about electricity and electromagnetism.
I refuse to ask the question why when it comes to this movie. But you're right, because there's no reason. And the whole end sequence where they're like trying to shoot whatever, and you get the fake out thing as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, but even that is like so obvious because it like comes after her being like, no, Gabriel, I'm in control. And then Gabriel kills the sister. It's
yeah.
I thought it might be metal.
Cut that line, and I think that scene would have been even more.
Yeah, so like that cuts the tension when she says she's in control.
Yeah, I also think there's two things where they have like the spooky little, the light goes bzz, bzz, at the end, which I think cutting that line helps the audience not know which is actually reality.
Yeah,
did Gabriel actually win in the end, or was her name Madison?
Madison, Maddie,
Maddie, yeah, or did she? Like, I think it would have been so much more interesting to kind of leave it unclear, because I think the movie ends with quite a bit of finality that she did in fact, trick and trap Gabriel.
Well, I think
Gabriel sucks.
To me, totally feels like they were trying to set up a sequel. Like this was going to be a new
for
universe.
Sure. It was like a whole horror, like
What do you do with that,
dude? Like someone else is gonna show up and be Malignant back. Like it's gonna be metal. So
it's gonna be a fucking
her and Gabriel have to team up to beat some other Malignant.
And then
okay. We are running out of time, but I want to have one more conversation really fast. You guys have a Malignant in your brain. What's their name and what's their special power?
Is it bad that every time I'm in traffic at night and like the red lights from someone's brake come up, I just look into my mirror and I go Malignant? Like I look it because of the red, like, and I'm like, look, I'm Malignant right now.
I'll start. Yeah, mine would be Evan, and he would be able to breathe underwater.
Ooh, an underwater
But
malignant.
Let me ask you, why does Gabriel have electricity powers?
Mine would be called Fabio, and he would have the power of seduction.
I was gonna say he'd be a really good dancer.
Yeah, like literally like shit like that. But like people look at it as like, oh, it still looks like, malignant. But they're like, for some reason, I'm really into that.
But they didn't cut the arms out, so the arms do like jazz hands and stuff.
Yeah. I could get into that. Yeah.
I could get into that. Matt, how about you?
I think his name is Brian. And
Hi, Brian.
Hi, Brian.
And he's an ex-spy, and he's really good at fighting gangsters and getting his daughter back.
Nice.
Wait.
Oh, but that was crazy. That was the plot of Taken. I tricked you guys again.
It happened again.
I love the thought of ex-spy when it's malignant inside you, like the FBI or whatever hired you.
Yeah, like a retired
but only
spy
when you were
retired in your
malignant.
brain as your twin.
Yeah, there's something really good about that. I genuinely could talk about these two because I do like them a lot. I am ready to vote though, and I'm willing to go first if you guys
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a surprise, but go ahead.
Well, yeah, it's not. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I genuinely I had more fun with Malignant. I do like Pig a lot, but Malignant's just so fun, and it feels like a movie for me, and I have to vote for something like that,
I think I can go next, and it super pains me to do this, because I loved Malignant so much, and had so much fun with it. But I think it's Oscar season. We're talking what is the best movie here, and I think from like a technical level, at least in my opinion, that Pig has to take it.
Coward, but it's okay.
So okay, this is really tough for me because I had a good time with Malignant, and I did not expect to. And it's not the type of movie that I generally would enjoy, I think.
Which is worth a lot.
I don't know. I think
I'm going to poop myself.
I'm going to vote for
Mouse Hunt.
I'm going to vote for I'm voting for Malignant. I'm doing it. Pig was so good. I loved Pig so much, but I think Malignant really did things to me that I did not expect.
So the 2 cents that I'll give, Malignant moves on. A genuine earnest ask to the audience to go watch Pig, because I truly believe that it was an Oscar snub in my mind. I think that there's a lot of really, really great performances in it, and I think it's just a really intimate and beautiful movie. Similar to, I think, Vast of Night last year.
Yeah, I agree.
When that went out first round. I think that this is something that I would love for people to just go see, because all I really want in the end is for people to watch this movie. And
the conclusion in Pig is so good. That last sequence when they're in the house, it's so good.
It is. It's a great movie. But man, we get to keep talking about Malignant, and I get to keep talking about James Wan, because I didn't even get into the part of my notes where I talk about Saw.
Okay, guys, we need to do some homework, because next week I'm going to ask the question: what happens when the Mitchells meet up against Evan, Brian, and Fabio? So get your brains turning, get thinking about it. We're going to need to find out.
Actually, we'll have 2 weeks to think on that, because next week we do the other half of the Oscar bracket.
I forgot about that.
9 Days versus Spider-Man No Way Home, and King Richard versus Worst Person in the World, which should be a lot of fun. So if you want to watch along with us, please do. And get excited, because we'll talk Malignant versus Mitchells versus the Machines in 2 weeks.
Nice.
Eminem, baby.
Eminem. With that, thank you so much for listening. If you
Eminem VM.
MVM.
MDMA.
No, I don't
Don't
know
do
about
drugs,
that one.
kids. Don't do drugs. Unless they turn you into Malignant. That'd be sick as hell, man.
That'd be so cool if you had a little murder guy in your brain.
Yeah, fucking cool. If you enjoyed today's show, please share it with any ghouls you know out there, especially ones that live in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got some listeners over there.
We're trying to get some Pacific Northwest ghouls to tune into the show and chime in. What really happened in the autonomous zone?
What? Oh, I end it. Oh, wait. Oh, shit.
Follow us on social media at Tough Cut Pod. We're pretty sick. And rate, comment, follow us on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Yeah, I think that's good.
Quick, say a word, Alex. Say a word. Any word. Say a word.
Grilled cheese.